Hello, Atlanta Realtors, and happy July. I am super excited to sit down with President Justin Ziegler of the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance Atlanta chapter today, where we're going to tell you about all things Real Estate Alliance and why it's important and how you can get involved. Welcome, Justin.
I'm excited to sit down with you, President Hatcher.
Justin's amazing, y'all. I've had such a good time getting to know him over this past year. And I'm a member. As I learned more about it, I joined as well. I joined last year, and in support of Justin and all of the efforts that they are doing here in Atlanta to promote inclusion and ensure that everyone has equal access to home ownership. So tell me about the Alliance and what it means to be a member.
Yeah, obviously, thank you for being a member. We really appreciate that. And thank you so much to the Atlanta Realtors Association, for the fact that they've been so involved this year. So the organization itself is actually only a few years old. We've had activists out there for years and years and years, but the organization itself has only been founded for about 3 years. And the first year, obviously, everything was getting put together. And then if you think about timing, it started literally right in the middle of COVID. So our first year, we had, these virtual events and things like that, like everyone did, and so this year, the year of my presidency, has been the first year where we really kind of returned to doing things in person and getting out there and seeing people and doing videos like these,
yes.
Which is kind of exciting. So, the organization itself, it's the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance, and it's open for everyone. It's not just for folks within the community. In fact, I actually love it when we have allies joining the organization. We do lots of events locally. So this year we've been doing a once a month event on the third Wednesday of every single month. It's really just a social event. There's really no true program to it. We're just trying to get folks out there networking, getting out to those events, getting there in person, shaking hands, and just making those connections that are so important within the business. We also do an education event every year, and then we have a larger event toward the end of the year that we do. And then nationally, the national organization does a big convention every year. This year it's in Vegas at the end of September. Yeah, that's exciting. That's a lot of fun. I actually will not get to attend this year because I'm getting married the day after the convention.
Exciting.
But I did go last year. And then they also have a policy summit once a year. So I was in DC a couple of months ago, and that was one of the best experiences I've had. There's obviously a cost associated with going, but it's open to everyone who's involved with the Alliance, and it was eye-opening, some of the information that we got at that event.
Yeah, that's really cool to see how they're tackling issues, and especially networking. I would say I've been to one of the events this year, and especially in today's climate, I don't know about you guys, but you got to network, right? With inventory at the level that it is, you've got to know and expand your network. And with Atlanta, Metro Atlanta growing at the rate that we are growing, your referral network is also important. So if you can identify with these issues, you are an ally, or you are an LGBTQ plus member and you are not a member of this association, I encourage you to join, start to understand the issues, get to know your network. At the event, I got to meet not only just realtors, but there were insurance brokers there, mortgage brokers, marketing people. Everybody was there. So attorneys. So the energy was great. The energy was awesome, and you got to meet so many people.
It's a fantastic way to build those important networks. And even just thinking about how the markets work, when you're in these situations where you're in multiple offers, think about what happens when the listing agent picks up and they know you already because they've met you at an event. It gives you an advantage for your clients. So, networking has proven over and over and over again in our business that it's super important for us to be successful.
Absolutely. So tell us why it was important for you to get involved in the Alliance.
Yeah, so before I even got into real estate, I was super involved. I was an AIDS activist. I spent the late 90s, early 2000s, basically doing something that I was very passionate about. And then I got into real estate, and I wanted to do something, still within that community. And if you look at how the AIDS epidemic has really evolved over time, it really has become a disease of poverty. And the biggest driver in that is actually being unhoused. So you have populations of people who are unhoused, and they are the most at risk for HIV infection. So really, if you're thinking about the epidemic, you kind of shift focus away from medications, which are available to those who can reach them, to a population of unhoused people, and that's actually where you start to make the biggest difference. So getting involved within the LGBT community for so long ago, I already had a lot of those connections, and this really was like the perfect marriage between something that I was passionate about and my career in real estate. So it just seemed obvious that I would get involved.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Really incredible story about giving back. And now you're making the same impact within the Alliance and getting people in homes and turning them into homeowners.
So, okay, so homeownership is really what it's all about, right? And you look at the homeownership rates across the nation, and it's about 65%. Within the LGBTQ plus community, it's lower. It's by about 15%. It's a 49% homeownership rate. So that gives us this huge opportunity for a market of people who are not becoming homeowners. And I've heard crazy stories sometimes. Like I actually spoke with someone one time that told me that they had put off buying a home for 5 years because he thought that he was going to have to explain all of the charges on his credit card at gay bars and things like that. And so he decided that he would not purchase a home for 5 years. And that's an education moment, right? Because we know inside the industry, if I'm buying a house, people aren't picking apart every single little charge on my credit card statement. But for someone to out there to be thinking that and not buy a home because of that, that's an opportunity for us to get in front of them, educate them, and help them be a homeowner. Because I think most people in our business know that that's how you build wealth, is through homeownership. And so we're very passionate about getting people within our community to be homeowners. And that's a market for everyone too. So the reason why I said I love Allies so much is it's an opportunity, when you join the Alliance but you're not a member of the community, what you're telling potential buyers and sellers out there is that you're an ally and that you're accepting and that they can feel safe working with you. And I think that's just as important.
Absolutely. When you were telling that story, all I could think about was that potential buyer, future homeowner, trusted you enough to tell you what their barriers were. Like, hey, you know what? I'm not a homeowner because I have a fear that I will be discriminated against because of who I choose to love and where I spend my money. And the fact that they felt comfortable to trust you with that information, that's huge, because people identified. They identified with you. You found something common ground, and being able to overcome barriers and all those myths, current myths to home ownership. So he can say, you know what? That is not true. That is not going to happen.
That's not a thing.
Exactly. Let's get you pre-qualified. We got to overcome these myths, but it has to start with trust and someone being comfortable enough to tell you, hey, like you said, if they know you're an ally or know that you're a member, they're like, you know what, I can identify with you and I can confide in you what my challenges are. And if you can overcome those barriers, we can get more people in homes. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's super exciting too.
The other thing that was really cool, that I love about Atlanta, by the way, but I mean, okay, I'm sorry, 10th in Piedmont, first of all, with the rainbow crosswalks. Yep. What the LGBTQ community has done for the city of Atlanta in real estate development. When I hear the stories, I'm always blown away. I came to Atlanta in 1998, and so we have all kinds of bars. I went to all of them.
You talk about 1998. I was probably at the corner of 10th and Piedmont. There was a little bookstore there. It was our gay bookstore. It's called Outright. And I would sit on the porch there because I was too young to go to the bars. Mm-hmm. So I would sit there and we would just kind of hang out in Midtown.
Yes.
And it was literally right at that corner, which now has the rainbow crosswalk.
That's right. And so you think about the community, and I've heard the stories about how the LGBTQ plus community transformed Midtown, and how Midtown used to be very depressed, blighted homes, blighted neighborhoods, and how that community came in and revitalized that whole area of town. It's when you think about what Midtown has done for our city and all of the growth that's happening in Midtown now, and how this community was part of the catalyst. I mean, the catalyst for that area.
That was where we were living.
And you got in there and they renovated the homes and they moved in and they opened businesses, revitalized the area, brought commerce, and all of a sudden, it's one of the best areas in the city.
So one of the things that I think is really kind of fun for me, because I've lived here for so long, like people ask me all the time, where do I need to be if I want to be around gay people? And I'm very careful because I'm not trying to steer people
exactly,
anywhere.
Yes.
But what I do actually find is, since most of my business comes from within the community, I do kind of pay attention to where I'm doing deals. And the interesting thing is, in today's market, I'm everywhere.
Exactly.
I am all over the place,
That's
and I
right.
love to see that, that people are all over the place. place in Atlanta.
Yep, they all over the place. I mean, before we started filming, I was just talking to Justin about how my kids and their friends in our parent network, we have same-sex couples in our parent network, interracial couples in our parent network, and just, it's just we're all over. And I love that. And it's having children that are growing up, seeing that as the norm, also starts to help things for the future in terms of people being able to have civil rights.
Atlanta really is kind of the cultural center of the South. And so it's actually a huge population of LGBTQ people here. And part of that, I think, is because you think about all of the different places in the South, right? And we know that disproportionately LGBTQ plus folks are more likely to be homeless. And when you think about it, a lot of times it's because they're growing up in a household that's unaccepting of them. And you think of like these small towns in these neighboring states, right? Alabama, Tennessee. I'm not trying to pick on those states, but they come from these very small towns. And Atlanta is that place where it's very accepting. And so we get a lot of people that come from a lot of different places here in Atlanta. And that's not just within the LGBTQ community. Sure. This is a cultural center for everyone in the South.
Yep, for everyone. That's a really good point. Sure is. Our diversity is one of our greatest assets here in Atlanta. I cannot say that enough. Our diversity across the board is one of our greatest assets as a city, and why I believe we're experiencing so much growth. So, President Ziegler, what are some of your goals for this year, and what can we at Atlanta Realtors do to help?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked. First off, our biggest goal is really kind of growing the organization, right? So this is our second year where we've done membership type activities, and it's the first year where we've been all in person for all of our activities. So I would say that absolutely, whether you join or not, of course join, but whether you join or not, come to the events, start meeting folks, getting involved. And I have to thank you because you've been very present. You've come to the meetings, you've brought members of the board from here, and we've had a lot of folks that have come out to these events from Atlanta Realtors. So that's actually the single most important thing, is to show up, right? So start coming to the third Wednesday events that we have, network, get to know folks. I think that coming to those will show the value of the organization, so then obviously you join. And then, like as you start to get even more involved, if you really get involved and really get excited, start going to the national type events that we do. The policy summit that we had this year was phenomenal. We had folks that were appointees from HUD that were speaking to us. We had the major presidents from the larger real estate organizations speaking with us. We had folks that started diversity organizations within large corporations. And then the plaintiff in the Oberfell case was actually one of our speakers as well, which was kind of cool. So literally, seeing him was very emotional, because I was thinking to myself, I'm about to get married, and this gentleman who is speaking to us is the reason why I can legally do that in 50 states right now.
That's awesome.
So, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So come on, come down, come to our events and get to know us.
Awesome. So how can we become members? How can we join?
Realestatealliance.org. That is the national organization, and that is the place where you go to become a member. And then what you want to do is you want to select that you're going to be part of the Atlanta chapter, and then you start getting communications from us about when the events are and what we're up to. Just join.
Yay! So exciting. I can't wait to attend my next Work It Wednesday event with Justin and his team. And we're super excited for our partnership that we have just newly re-energized, and looking forward to future events. Thank you for coming to talk to me today.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for everything that you're doing. I mean, I think that the board has absolutely taken an effort this year to, open the gates to increase diversity within the organization, to be more actively involved. And like I said, showing up is the single most important thing you can possibly do. And then even opening the board to, allow the folks from our organizations to be a part of that. So, now that we have a voting seat on the board of directors, that means that we actively play a part in how this organization is run. And that is such an important thing. I know that I've heard from people, when they first got into real estate and they come here, they wonder, if they're going to fit in. And, having these doors open is absolutely, it's all about visibility. And when people see people that look like them and think like them, they feel like this is an organization for them. So I think that that's actually been a great thing that you've done this year. Whether that specific, outcome was what you were planning or not, that is really what happened. Was you told people that this is a home for them here. And I think that's probably why we've seen membership rising here in Atlanta Board when other organizations, are lowering their numbers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That is, inclusion is part of the platform. That is the platform. From the, let's dance. That's what we talked about when I was getting installed. And we need to ensure that everyone feels welcomed, respected, and a place of belonging when they come here. And that if they want to practice real estate in Atlanta, in the metro Atlanta area, that they can be a Realtor member and they can come here. And we want you here, and we want you members of the Alliance. We want you involved, and know that we cover all sectors. Homeownership for all is the end goal. So thank you again for that, and thank you for everything you're doing and all the work you're doing on behalf of your community at ARA. It means a lot.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.